before I get to the two biggest problems with the Media Mod, let's open this up and I'll show you what you get inside the box. I bought this here in Thailand, 2,900 baht. I ordered it online. It was shipped to me. That's about $87 US. And I was very excited when it arrived. Yeah, I've been using it, testing it a lot, getting used to it, and I'm uncovering a lot of things about it that I didn't even know from my research. But again, more about that in a minute. But let's slide open this box. Try to get it out without everything falling off. And there it is. There isn't a lot inside the box. What you see here is everything that you get. There is the Media Mod itself. And something I haven't mentioned so far is that the Media Mod also has its own kind of mini shotgun mic or directional mic built into it, and this big black thing in the middle, that is a wind cover for that microphone. This may be one of the things for me that makes the Media Mod kind of useful, but I'm not really sure about that yet. The jury is still out on this directional mic. And you also get the standard GoPro thumb screw. I believe this is a special one. It looks different from the other ones I have, and I believe it needs to have a slightly different shape to be used with this Media Mod, and you get a quick release buckle, which I was very pleased to see inside the box, because this is a special one that is a little bit higher than the normal quick release buckle, which is very useful, particularly for the GoPro chest mount. Because the normal quick release buckle, when you put it onto a chest mount, it doesn't go up high enough, so the GoPro itself can't twist far enough to become level. So you have to raise it up a little bit. So I believe they supplied this with a specific idea of being able to bend the GoPro into more of a, basically a horizontal position, I guess. So you get that. You get one of the thumb screws. Take out the, there's the wind muff, which I don't know, just one of those things. It's just, I'm holding it in my hand and it's like, it's crying out to be lost. It's just one of those things, you know, you're just gonna lose it at some point. And I don't know how long, how durable it is or how long it's going to last. It doesn't feel that durable to me. It just feels like something you're going to stick in a pocket, stick in a little bag, and someday you're going to wonder, where is that windscreen? And it will be gone. And here is the star of the show, the Media Mod itself. And there's nothing else in there except for a little, there's a little booklet in the box which gives you some warranty information and some very simple instructions on how to use it. All right. So there's the front of our GoPro Hero 9 Media Mod. As I said, it has a directional microphone up here in the corner, and the most important, and it has the a cold shoe mount on the top right there, and a cold shoe mount on the side right there. And interestingly, it has buttons. So it has a button on the top, that's the record button for the GoPro, and it has a button on the side, which is a power button. Neither of these is electronic. These are just physical buttons because they sit on top of the button in the GoPro itself. So by pressing down on this button, you're physically depressing the button on the GoPro itself underneath it, and then hit, and that, you know, activates record. Same thing for power. This is really just a physical button that you push, and it in turn pushes on the power button of the GoPro. They're not actually wired electronically or anything like that. And more about these buttons in point number 2 of the biggest problems with the Media Mod. Flipping it around, this is the important stuff. You've got a line of ports here on the back, and each one on the GoPro Hero 9 Media Mod is covered up with a plastic door, a rubber door. On the Hero 8, I believe they were exposed, so these doors are perhaps an improvement over the Hero 8. I don't know whether I actually like these doors yet or not. But you open up the top door. It's kind of fun. It's like opening up little surprises. It's like, oh, look at that. And this is an HDMI out, but it is HDMI mini. It's not a full-sized HDMI port, of course, such a small device. This is an HDMI mini out, and you would use this if you want to plug your GoPro into a television or any other device that has HDMI onto a laptop, I guess, or computer monitor. And then you can take video that's on your GoPro and play it directly onto a big TV or onto a big computer monitor using the HDMI port. Next one down, you open that little door, and that is your USB-C port. A lot more about that in a minute. So it's basically, yeah, USB-C port. And then at the very bottom, open the door, and that is your 3.5 millimeter jack, where you can plug in an external microphone. So those are the three ports. On the inside, there is a USB-C port, not a port, but a plug on the inside of this Media Mod. And that is a very interesting design, because what you need to do is insert, you have to take your GoPro, slide it into the Media Mod, lining up the USB-C port on your GoPro with the USB-C plug in the Media Mod, and then you slide this inside and insert this plug into the port on your GoPro. And that is how the Media Mod communicates with your GoPro. Everything that goes in through these three ports is now being transmitted through this USB-C port into your GoPro and is controlling everything on the inside. And before I forget about it, one interesting thing about this Media Mod is that when you do use the Media Mod to plug in an external microphone, it gives you an audio readout on your screen, which is a very interesting thing that GoPro has done, because before this you couldn't. Even if you use the GoPro Mic Adapter, which is another way to plug in a microphone, you can plug in an external microphone, but you never see anything on the screen. There's no indication that a microphone has been plugged in, and you don't see audio levels. So you have no visual confirmation that the microphone you plugged in is even working. And that has taken me by surprise a few times in the past. But with the Media Mod, you actually get an audio readout. You can see your audio levels, which tells you two things. It tells you that the microphone is connected and audio is being transmitted to the GoPro, which is a real relief. The last thing you want to do is spend 3 hours recording, and at the end of 3 hours find out that no audio was recorded. So with the Media Mod, you do get confirmation that the microphone is working, and that's really a great thing. And you see the levels themselves bouncing up and down, so you can see whether the levels are too high or too low, and then you can make adjustments accordingly. So that's a very handy feature of the Media Mod, which I was not expecting. That was a pleasant surprise. So in order to put these together, of course, you have to remove the battery door of the GoPro itself. Normally, I've taken it off here. There's normally a door here on a hinge, swivels down, clicks into place, covers up the battery and the memory card, and that seals the GoPro and makes it waterproof, which is a very important point, because in order to put this into the Media Mod, you have to remove the battery and memory card door. Got to pop it off the GoPro itself and then slide it into the Media Mod, and that of course removes the waterproofing. As soon as you remove that door, obviously the GoPro isn't waterproof anymore. So the GoPro isn't waterproof. This was never intended to be waterproof. So once you combine these two, you're no longer working with a waterproof camera. Something to remember, you don't want to pop this in and then suddenly go surfing because you've now destroyed both of them. No more waterproofing when you combine these together, which is normal, obviously, because that's not what it's designed for. It's designed for walking around, going to cafes, going to restaurants, taking your GoPro onto a train or a bus or onto an airplane, or walking around the streets. It's a vlogging device, not an action camera device. So that's an important distinction. So let's put them together and I'll show you how that works. So the door that was removed, that you have removed from the GoPro, you have an identical door right here on the Media Mod. And this is a new design for the door of the Media Mod and a new design for the GoPro Hero 8 and 9. And you pull down on this bottom thing and pull it, and it has a little hinge on it, and then the hinge pops the door up, which makes an opening on the side, which lets you slide the GoPro in. So you take your GoPro, line it up with the USB-C port down there on the bottom. You can see where the USB-C plug is here on the Media Mod, and you slide it inside, push it in so they connect, and then you close this door, get it to snap into position, and there you are. There is the GoPro Hero 9 inside the Media Mod, which is actually a relatively compact unit still. I was sort of pleased with that when I saw it. It's sort of like, okay, it's, you know, looking all right. It didn't become a gigantic camera at this point, but I mean, check this out. I don't know if you can see the difference on that particular view, but look what has happened to the GoPro, going from the Hero 7 to the Hero 9 plus Media Mod. I mean, by comparison, this thing now is gigantic and heavy and complicated. This is such a difference between them. It's even for me now that I'm looking at them side by side, it's kind of shocking that GoPro went from this, which to me was almost the ultimate expression of what an action camera should be, the GoPro Hero 7 Black, to go from that to this. I mean, my gosh, it's just gigantic by comparison. So that gives you an idea of what the Media Mod looks like. And now that we have the cold shoe mounts, you can do things like take your, for example, your shotgun mic, slide it into there, tighten it down. So now you have a cold shoe mount for a microphone on top of your GoPro. And there's one on the side as well, so you could put your microphone on the side as well. And then you take the cord and plug it into the back of the GoPro. And as I said, with the Hero 8, the idea was to be able to mount an LCD screen on the top, so you have a front-facing screen, and you have a cold shoe mount on the side where you could mount a light, so you would have a complete studio setup. So in terms of the overall design of this thing, I don't think there's much more to say. This is the directional microphone in the corner, and as I said, here is the windscreen, and you just pop it on there. So that's it. Oh, there is something else to talk about, very important thing in terms of design. Another big change between the original GoPro Hero 7 and now this Hero 9 Black is that they built in the GoPro mounting fingers into the camera itself. And just to show you that, I'm going to take the camera back out of this Media Mod for just a second. Pull that out. So here's the GoPro Hero 9 Black, and on the bottom there's a little recess there with the GoPro finger mounts. So you pop those out, and now you have the standard GoPro finger mounts, which connect to these buckles or to any other, mounting system that you might be using. You slide those together, put in the GoPro thumb screw, tighten it down, and this is how GoPros attach to all the grips and tripods and mounting devices, using these fingers. And they're built into the GoPro itself, and then they click. There's little magnets in there to hold it in place, and then they click into the bottom there, and you don't see them anymore, which is kind of nice, because now, even though the fingers are there, you're still able to put it down flat, like on a flat surface. If these finger mounts were sticking out and fixed in place, then you wouldn't be able to do that, which I do quite often. I'm always putting my GoPro down on a flat surface to film something, on a table, bookshelf, whatever. And if you had those finger mounts there, you can't do it. So it's nice to be able to tuck them away, and then you can just put the GoPro down, on a flat surface like that. But now we're putting it inside a case. So how do you get access to those finger mounts? Pretty simple solution. There's a hole on the bottom. So the Media Mod has a big cutout along the bottom, and then let's slide our GoPro back inside. As you slide it in, close the door, and now there's an opening on the bottom of the Media Mod. You get your fingernails in there, if you have fingernails, and then you pop out the finger mounts through the cutout on the bottom of the Media Mod. So in terms of overall design, I think that is everything I'm going to talk about. And now, at long last, taking all of that information, I think it's good I gave you that information, because now that I'm going to tell you about the two biggest problems with this Media Mod, I think you'll understand my perspective better and understand what I'm talking about. Because I think I can get somewhat excited about this, a little bit animated about this topic. I have a lot of feelings about GoPros and their overall physical design. Interestingly enough, when it comes to GoPros and GoPro reviews on YouTube, such as all the reviews I'm seeing of the GoPro Hero 10, everyone's talking about technical stuff. That with the Hero 10, they've essentially doubled all the frame rates. So now you can shoot 4K at 60 seconds, or is it 4K at 120 seconds? Or 120 frames per second, or 60 frames per second, I'm not sure. But they're talking about better stabilization, higher frame rates, higher resolution. That's all anyone ever talks about. My brain, as a simple man and a simple vlogger, my brain is more stuck at the level of physical design. Just how is it put together physically, and how do I put it on things? I have my various grips and mounts. How do I put them together? How do I hold on to it? How do I go from my chest mount to a hand grip to a scooter mount to a bicycle mount to mounting it on my cupboard or my bookshelf? That's what I'm interested in. Simple, useful, physical design features are kind of what I end up thinking about. Because even from the Hero 7 Black, going back 2 generations, the image quality of the Hero 7, I loved it. Perfectly fine for me. I didn't need better stabilization. The stabilization in the Hero 7 is amazing. It didn't need to be improved for me. So a lot of the fancy software and other improvements, I guess they're nice, but I don't really need any of that. Personally, I'm more interested in the physical design, and I guess that's where I'm going next. All right, finally, supercharged by my second cup of coffee this morning. Finally getting to the two biggest problems with the GoPro Media Mod. And the biggest problem, to be honest, is that the Media Mod exists, that it exists at all. Because it doesn't need to exist, I don't need it, and I don't want it. All I want to do, as I talked about before, is take a little microphone like this and plug it into a GoPro. That's all I want to do. And my understanding, I could be wrong about this, I honestly could be, but I don't think I am. My understanding is that in order to plug a microphone into a USB-C port, all you need is this. This tiny, lightweight, simple, inexpensive adapter. 3.5 millimeter on one side, USB-C on the other. Here's my microphone. I click it into one end, and now I've got USB-C attached to a microphone, right? Nothing could be simpler than that. Nothing could be cheaper than that. Nothing could be easier than that. Nothing could be lighter than that. Take that off. I've got my shotgun microphone. I want to plug this into the USB-C port. Boop, I'm done. That's all I need, this tiny wire, essentially, in order to go from 3.5 millimeter to USB-C. Now, this tiny adapter that I'm holding doesn't work with a GoPro. I got this with a smartphone. This one comes with the Samsung Galaxy, Note 10 Plus. The Samsung Note 10 Plus smartphone is very similar to the GoPro in that for this phone and for many high-end phones from other companies, they've taken away the 3.5 millimeter jack. It doesn't have one anymore. Just like the GoPro, a lot of high-end smartphones, they only have USB-C. That's the only way to plug something in, just like the GoPro. But Samsung didn't give me a giant Media Mod case to wrap around the entire phone. With the phone, they included this. So if I want to attach a microphone to my Galaxy, nothing could be easier. I've tested this, it all works perfectly. I just click that into there, into my microphone, and take this USB-C plug it into the phone. There you go. It registered the microphone, and now I'm ready to record clean audio on my phone. And it's not just microphones, obviously. A lot of earphones these days, cheaper ones, still use 3.5 millimeter plugs. So I've got these are my standard earphones that I use for a lot of devices, but I can't plug it into my phone because there is no 3.5 millimeter jack. No problem. I just plug it into this tiny adapter. So that's what I want for my GoPro. This is what I've been wanting for years, ever since I bought the original GoPro Hero 7 Black. I can understand that GoPro doesn't want to put a 3.5 millimeter jack in the GoPro because, in theory, it would make it bigger. It would make the case, they'd have to redesign the interior and make it larger to make room for a physical 3.5 millimeter jack in the GoPro itself. I think they could do it pretty easily. After all, you know, they willingly went from this to this. So they were more than willing to make the GoPro bigger. But for some reason, they were never willing to put a 3.5 millimeter jack into the GoPro. And there also are concerns about waterproofing. Of course, if you have an exposed 3.5 millimeter jack on a GoPro, water can get in through that hole and it's no longer waterproof. But I don't see that as a problem because the USB-C port is also an opening into the interior of the GoPro, and they keep it waterproof by putting it behind a waterproof door. If you want to access the USB-C port, you have no choice but to open the door to plug something in. And for a vlogger, that's no problem. If I want to walk around talking on the streets, babbling into my GoPro, I'm more than happy to get rid of the waterproofing. I'm not going swimming. I'm not going out in a typhoon. It's a beautiful sunshine day. I want to go walking with my GoPro. I open the door, remove the door, which exposes the USB-C port, and it could also expose the 3.5 millimeter jack. Why not? Put both of them inside the GoPro itself. And then you take off the door, take your microphone, plug it in, you're done. As I said, I can understand GoPro's reluctance to do that. Not many people use the GoPro the way I use it. Vloggers, GoPro vloggers are a small segment of the market, but we're quite vocal, as you can tell. I'm pretty vocal about this, I always have been. But I guess we don't spend enough money for GoPro to justify devoting the resources and to designing a microphone input. However, how much work goes into this? Realistically, nothing, right? It's the simplest device you can imagine. It's just an adapter. 3.5 millimeter on one side, USB-C on the other. You don't have to put a 3.5 millimeter jack in the GoPro. You don't have to do anything. You just got to give me one of these, plug it in, and I'm done. And if GoPro did this, they would make so many of their customers ecstatic, so happy. The fact that they haven't done it frustrates us to no end, because the story is even more interesting because this used to be possible with GoPros. If you go back in history and look at the GoPro Hero 3, Hero 3 Plus, and the 4, maybe even the 5, I'm a little bit unclear on my history, but you used to be able to do this. I don't know if GoPro itself made it. I think they might have, but definitely other companies made for the GoPro Hero 3 and 4 a simple adapter just like this one. You can still see it. You can type it into Google and track down this product, plug it into your GoPro, and then you can plug in an external microphone. So technically, according to the design of a GoPro, you can do it. They've done it in the past. They did it for the old GoPros. They just refused to do it with the new ones. So, biggest problem by far with the Media Mod is that it exists. It doesn't need to exist. This is all I need and it is all I want. So it's very annoying that in order to do this, I have to get all of this. And you could argue, many do, that, well, this does a lot more. For example, it has, as I pointed out, this directional microphone built into it. It's like, well, you're getting extra stuff. You know, quit complaining. This is an amazing device because it does so many things. The point is, I don't need any of those things. The only reason I bought this was to plug in my own high quality external microphones. So this built-in low quality microphone, I don't need it. It doesn't need to be there. I'm probably not going to use it. The only reason I bought this was because I already own microphones and I want to plug them in. So this is a microphone I don't even need. On the back, of course, as I pointed out, it has an HDMI out, HDMI mini, and people might say, wow, that's very useful. Okay, maybe for you, it could be, not for me. I can guarantee you that I could live for another 500 years and I will never plug my GoPro into a widescreen TV. I'm never, ever going to use that HDMI port. I'll never use it. Maybe somebody would. I actually doubt that many people have a use for this, really. Just doesn't, why would you bother? You basically take your memory card out of the GoPro, plug it into your laptop, copy all your video files to your laptop, and there they are on your laptop. That's what people do. Very few people would take their GoPro, plug an HDMI cord into it, and then play the video onto their big screen TV or on their laptop. I don't know. Maybe more people do it than I realize, but not a whole lot, I don't think. So HDMI out, don't need it. USB-C, people might say, oh, look, you get an extra USB-C port. That's kind of cool. But no, it isn't at all when you think about it, because the only reason it has a USB-C port is because this device itself has to attach to the USB-C port on the GoPro. So it isn't adding a USB-C port to the GoPro, it is just replacing the port that it has to use in order to work. You see what I mean? It doesn't add anything to the GoPro. This has one USB-C port. I put it into the Media Mod. It still has one USB-C port. It hasn't added anything. All it's doing is replacing the port that it is using. So the USB-C port is of no use either. So HDMI, don't need it. USB-C, don't need it. Cold shoe mounts, don't need them. I have other ways to deal with that. Microphone, I don't need it. And again, yeah, these power buttons, power button, record button, I don't need those either. They're built into the GoPro. The only reason they're here is because now this case is covering them up. So now they have to add more buttons to make it more complicated. It's adding weight, it's adding bulk, it's adding complexity. And all of that, none of these features I need. This doesn't need to exist. This is what I need. And that's all. So the biggest problem with the GoPro Media Mod, oddly enough, is that it exists in the first place, because it really shouldn't exist. And expanding on that idea, with the GoPro Hero 8, as I mentioned, one of the big ideas for this concept was that you could add an extra front-facing screen. That was the big selling point. But then, with the very next GoPro, the Hero 9, they built that screen right into the GoPro itself. So you don't need to add an external LCD screen. It has one. So what's the point of this thing? The main point of it for the GoPro Hero 8 was to add a front-facing screen. That, I think, was the headline feature. Hero 9 made that feature completely redundant. So what is the point of this thing now? I honestly don't need it myself, and I don't think a lot of people need it. So the fact that it exists at all is a big problem for me. I would love it if someone who knows technically about these things, maybe you can explain to me why this won't work with a GoPro. I don't think there's any reason why it can't work. I've seen it work with other GoPros. It works with every other device in the world. So I'm pretty sure that GoPro can easily make one of these. One of their engineers could whip it up over lunch, I think. You know, plug it in and we're done. That's what I want. This I'm forced to use because I have no choice. The second biggest problem with the Media Mod is simply that it is kind of awkward and inefficient when you go to use it. And there's a lot of things I can talk about. There's so many, I hardly know where to start. But let's start with the door. The door is a new design that was introduced with the GoPro Hero 8 and is included in the GoPro Hero 9 itself. So the door in the GoPro itself, I find really awkward. It's difficult to open. Yeah, it's just much more difficult, I find, than the old doors that were on the GoPro Hero 7. And it's even more problematic on the Media Mod because there's no structure to press against. So the way you use this door, you have to kind of get your fingernail into this little ledge here and pull down on it to cut it loose and then pull it to the side. And you know, I don't know if you noticed that or not, but in order to do that, I had to put a lot of pressure on the bottom of the Media Mod. I need something to push against as I'm pulling down. So I'm pulling down on this latch, and then I'm pushing upwards on the frame itself, and I've got nothing to push against because this is bendable, and I feel like I'm going to break it. That isn't a problem on the GoPro because it's a physical structure. So as you're pulling down on it, you're holding your thumb against the GoPro itself. I still find that door really awkward and hard to work with. So just bothers me every time I try to open the door on the GoPro. And it's many times more awkward on the Media Mod itself, just to open the door. So that's the first awkward thing about the Media Mod, is just opening that door. And after that, it becomes very problematic because, and this is the key to the whole system and the whole problem, every time you will need to change the battery or replace the memory card in the GoPro, you have to take the GoPro out of the Media Mod. There's no other way to access it. Here's the door on the GoPro. There's the battery, the blue battery there, and the memory card is there. So it is exposed, very easy to get at it, but the way it works, that's where the USB-C port is, and there's the plug. So now you slide your GoPro into this, which isn't the easiest thing to do either. Close the door, which isn't the easiest thing to do. And now the access for the battery is over here. And it's sealed. This is the sealed side of the case. You can no longer get at the battery or the memory card. So I'm out there doing whatever I'm doing with my GoPro. Now I need to change the battery, which in my life I have to do 2 or 3 times a day, replacing memory cards all the time. Now I have to take the GoPro out of the Media Mod every time just to change the battery or replace the memory card. So now I'm opening that door, which is a pain. I got to pull the GoPro out, which makes me nervous because you're constantly inserting and reinserting the USB-C. Now I've got that. I've got to put this down somewhere. And again, it's easy to do sitting here inside a room. I got a table. There's no wind blowing. There's no mud anywhere. It's not drizzling. There's no wind. It's easy to do here. I can put it down and it's right in front of me. I'm sitting in a chair, I'm comfortable. But out there in the real world, you're in the middle of the world, basically. You know, if you're in a street, there's traffic everywhere, there's people walking around, you're on a sidewalk, you're sort of hunched over the side of the road to get out of everyone's way, and now you're fiddling around with this thing, opening it up, removing the GoPro, taking out the battery, putting in the battery, and then you've got to put it back inside the case, which isn't the easiest thing in the world, and then you're sealing it. And it's not, this door, I can't even tell half the time when it's closed fully. It's a pain. It's added a lot of complexity to my life, and I really don't like that design. And a lot more about that in a second when I compare it to an alternative, and then you'll see what I'm getting at. One of the big advantages to using the Media Mod, of course, is that it gives you cold shoe mounts for your microphone. But one thing I realized, and I was sort of displeased to figure this out, is that the way the Media Mod is designed, this cold shoe mount on the top conflicts with the record button. My favorite microphone is the one I'm using here. You can't see it. I'll pull it out and you're going to get some microphone noise as I move it around. But I've got the Rode Wireless Go around my neck, and then I have the receiver on the camera. So what I need to do to use the Rode Wireless Go, what I thought I would do is put the receiver into this cold shoe mount on the top, but it's right beside the record button. So I realized that when I slide the Rode Wireless Go receiver into that cold shoe mount, it covers up the record button on the GoPro. I can't get at it. There's like a little opening. I kind of got to stick my fingers between them and try and press down. It doesn't work. Luckily, the Rode does fit into the side cold shoe mount, and that is okay. So that works, but the one on the top actually doesn't work at all. And the reason for that is because of this door again. The hinge is at the top. They could move the cold shoe mount over to the corner so that it doesn't conflict with the record button. But notice when the door opens, if I can open it, there we go, it has to swing up and the hinge goes all the way around the GoPro and then goes in for like 1/4 of an inch or so. So they had to take the cold shoe mount and move it over towards the middle, and that's why it interferes with the record button. So this cold shoe mount is also a problem because it's right beside the record button of the GoPro. I also find these finger mounts built into the GoPro kind of awkward because they're kind of hard to get at even in the GoPro itself. They're recessed, so it's flat. There's a flat surface there. And if you don't have fingernails, I'm having trouble getting at them. And now, because you have the GoPro inserted into a frame inside the Media Mod, they're even more recessed and they're even harder to get at. So I often find I'm like having trouble accessing them. Like I can't get it at all with my thumb. I've got to turn it around, try to get at it with my finger. And as I'm fighting to get this one out, I'm constantly clicking that one back in. It's like, oh, for Pete's sake. So I got to get back to this one, and I got to turn it around and try to get at this one. And now I have both of them out. And I have to be careful not to touch them because they're not fixed. You know, they're on a hinge, so they're moving around. And because they are not fixed, I find them difficult to insert into a standard GoPro thing. If they're fixed in place, you just line them up and push, right? But look what happened. Because they're on this hinge system now, I can't just line them up because they don't fit that easily and they keep getting pushed out of position. You can't do that. Like, it's much more difficult than the old system. So what you have to do now is really kind of hold them tight, make sure they're not moving, and then you got to line them up carefully and push them together. Now it's in, and now I can finally put them together. But it turns out that because of the size of the unit and the way they kind of designed it, they had to cut a groove in the bottom of the Media Mod, and your thumb screw actually fits inside that groove, goes all the way along the bottom of the Media Mod, and then extends around the corner, and the thumb screw fits into that. But notice what I did. I stuck the GoPro in one direction, but the screw hole for the thumb screw is on the other side. You can't put a thumb screw in both sides. It only goes in from one direction. So now you have to make sure that you always put it in the right way. I put it in the wrong way without thinking about it. Now I've got to take it out, and then I've got to put it back in and hold it in place. And it's just like, okay, there we go. Got to line it up, of course. Put in the thumb screw. But I find this so awkward because the thumb screw is recessed into this cutout, and I find the GoPro thumb screws to be very awkward to begin with. I don't even use them. I use my own thumb screws. Let me grab one and I'll show you the difference. Here's one here. This is the thumb screw I bought. It's made by another company. GoPro doesn't make any alternatives to their original thumb screw for some reason. They make the same thumb screw that they made with the very first GoPro, and I don't think they've changed it. I don't think most people don't even use them because they're difficult to tighten enough. You can't get a grip on them. GoPro even sells a wrench, a special wrench that you need to be able to get onto them and tighten them and loosen them enough. So a lot of companies realize that, not GoPro, other companies, and they designed these new screws that have big wings on them that give you a lot more torque, and you can access them more easily. So I have a whole bunch of these and I use them. I don't use any of the GoPro thumb screws. But on the Media Mod, I can't use these because they don't fit in, because they have to be recessed into the GoPro itself, into the Media Mod, and this doesn't fit anymore. So I have to use the thumb screw now. I don't have a choice. And it's the thumb screw design itself I find awkward, and now that it is recessed, it's even more awkward. I'm like, I'm trying to get at it with my big fat fingers and I can't really get at it. I finally got it in there. But I can't get a grip on the thing because it's inside this groove now and I can't get it tight enough. It's really fidgety to get at. And then if you want to get it tight enough so that your GoPro doesn't move on the mount, you really got to get in there and tighten it down. And now, try to loosen that thing. If you do manage to get it tight enough, now you're, like right now, I can't do it. I finger tightened it, and now I cannot finger loosen it. It is so hard to do. There we go. It's really painful. So I don't like this this whole thumb screw business, you know? Yeah, it's a weird sort of design. I don't get it. I guess I kind of get it. They're trying to keep it compact and as small as possible, but they ended up making it pretty awkward. And this feeds into the worst problem at all. I told you only half of the first problem being that every time I want to change the battery or the memory card, I have to remove the GoPro from the Media Mod. So here is my GoPro Hero 9 inside the Media Mod, mounted onto a quick release buckle, which I love using. I love the whole quick release idea, the concept in theory, not always in execution. And you take your Media Mod and GoPro, click it into place on your grip of choice. This is the GoPro Jaws Flex clamp, so I can click it in there easily, and I'm ready to go. Looks pretty cool. Media Mod, normally I'd have a microphone of some kind mounted on there, so it'd look a little bit bigger, but this is the basic idea right here, and I'm happily chatting away into the GoPro, and then the battery dies, and I need to replace the battery in the GoPro. So I'm thinking, okay, no problem. I'm used to that. Let's replace the battery. I know it's a little bit of a pain with this Media Mod because of the door, and I have to take the GoPro out. But you know, I can live with that. So you got to open that door. Get that there. Okay. So now I've got to remove the GoPro from the Media Mod. I'm pulling. Huh? It's not coming out. You know? I can't get it out. Why can't I get it out? Because of the fingers at the bottom. Remember that the finger mount is built into the GoPro itself, and in order to mount the GoPro in the Media Mod, they cut a hole in the bottom of the Media Mod, and those finger mounts stick through the hole and are attached to the buckle, so it has effectively locked the GoPro into place. I've got the door open. The GoPro, in theory, should slide out of there, but it can't slide out because the legs are locking it into position. So every time I want to change the battery or the memory card, not only do I have to open this door and remove the GoPro, before I can even remove the GoPro, I have to undo the thumb screw, not just loosen it. I've got to take it all the way out, pull the GoPro up out of the mount, put this down, click the fingers back into position. Now, and again, as you're doing this, you have to be careful not to touch the screen, the lens, because you don't want to leave fingerprints all over the place. So you got to make sure you position your fingers properly. Pull that out. Now I have access to the battery and the memory card. I can change those around, and then I have to put the whole thing back together again. I've got my Media Mod, so I've got to slide that back in. Come on, get that snugly fit. Close the door. Are you closed? I don't think it's closed yet. Maybe it's closed. Now I've got to get the fingers out of there. Now I've got to reinsert it back into here. Make sure I'm doing it the right way so that the thumb screw can go in. Got to line those up. There we go. Put my thumb screw back in, tighten it down. And one other thing, the new design with these finger mounts, it wobbles a lot more than the old system. They're just looser in general. So you really have to tighten this down even more than before, because there's a bit of flexibility, a bit of play in the new design of the finger mounts. There. I'm finally done. So, can you imagine? I mean, this whole thumb screw, attaching all of that, you can deal with that if you're only dealing with that once a day. Like for today, I want to use this quick release buckle. So in the morning, perhaps, I go through the process of attaching it, and now I have it on a quick release system, so I can pop it off, pop it onto the chest harness, pop it onto the scooter, put it back here. And that's great. But every single time you change the battery or need to replace the memory card, you have to dismantle the entire thing. You have to not only open the Media Mod and pull the GoPro out. Before you can even do that, you have to take out the thumb screw and release the entire mounting mechanism from whatever you have it mounted on, which really defeats the entire purpose of the quick release system. The whole point of quick release is to be able to do things quickly and efficiently. Click it on, click it off, click it on, click it off. But if every time you need to change the battery, you have to remove it from the quick release, what's the point of even having a quick release system? Honestly, there's really no point to it anymore. So that is the biggest awkward design of this Media Mod. The fact that you have to remove the GoPro to change the battery or the memory card, and you have to remove it from the mounting system entirely every time you do it. I've been talking at great length about all of this in great detail, but just to make sure I paint a complete picture, I'm going to take it one step farther and demonstrate an alternative. And showing you this alternative might shed more light on why I find the Media Mod to have some design problems. Before the Media Mod existed, the only option for attaching a microphone to a GoPro was this. This has been around for years. This is the GoPro Mic Adapter. And at this point, to be honest, I would say that using this is preferable for me as opposed to using the Media Mod. I think I prefer this just because of its simplicity, and I'll explain how that works in a minute. Though, I'm also kind of annoyed with this. As I said, there are two problems with the Media Mod. It shouldn't exist at all. That's the biggest problem. The second problem is it's awkward. And both criticisms apply to this. It also should not exist. It is smaller and lighter and less expensive and simpler than the Media Mod, clearly, but it is also still much more expensive and complicated and bigger and heavier than this. What I started this video with. This is what I want, and for a long time, this is what GoPro provided. And it basically has a USB-C plug on one side and a 3.5 millimeter jack on the other. So it's similar to this, but for reasons that only GoPro knows, and I'd love it if someone at GoPro could explain it to me, instead of just leaving it at this, they then added a USB-C port. So it has a 3.5 millimeter jack and a USB-C port. And I get the idea from what I've read. The whole idea is that this was designed to be used in a studio setting, so that you plug this into your GoPro so you can plug in a microphone, and you might want to use your GoPro for a long time while you're sitting in a studio, and therefore the battery will run out. So instead of using a GoPro battery, you plug in an external power source through USB-C. So this has two purposes. It's a dual purpose device. Plug in an external microphone and plug in an external power source through USB-C, or plug in anything into USB-C. It has 2 ports, microphone, USB-C. And that's why it's so big and so heavy and so expensive, because it's a 2-in-1 device, when I need a 1-in-1 device. This is the device I need, not this. But as I said, I mean, this may be a 2-in-1 device. This Media Mod is like a 5 or 6-in-1 device. So yeah, pick your poison, basically. To illustrate the difference, I'm going to assemble this how I normally use it, and you can see how it's different from the Media Mod. But to do that, of course, I need to get my Hero 9 Black out of here. And let's... Oh man, my fingers are still, they're bruised from just doing this little demonstration this morning. Can I get that? Oh man. I didn't even tighten it down that much, but it's so hard to get at. Now I can't, I honestly can't loosen it. I can't do it. Okay. I've indented my poor thumb and finger. Come on. I can't be this, there we go. I was gonna say I can't be this much of a weakling. But okay, now we've got it open, unscrewing it, take that off. Not done yet, so now I got to open the door. Okay, here's the door. Get the GoPro out. Oh, I forgot about the finger mount. See? Gotta put those down. And now, all right, I finally got my GoPro. That is too much for me to deal with in my life. Okay, so there's the Media Mod. Here is the mic adapter. In theory, smaller, simpler, and lighter, but you plug this into your USB-C port, and now the darn thing is dangling off the GoPro, just flopping around and making your life miserable. So now you have to come up with a place to put this. What do you do with this darn thing? Rubber bands, scotch tape, duct tape it to something. You know, how in the world do you mount this onto your GoPro efficiently? GoPro itself has never come up with a solution to this. This problem with the mic adapter has existed for years, and GoPro has never offered a solution to this. Luckily, other companies have stepped up, and the best company that my favorite company is this one. This is a company called Ulanzi, and they make GoPro accessories, among other things. And they have come out with a special cage that is designed to be used with the GoPro Hero 9 and the GoPro Hero 7 and 8. They've made one for each of the different GoPro models. This happens to be the one for the GoPro Hero 9. And it has a special compartment in the bottom, a little slot there where you put the mic adapter. So what you do is you put the cord of the mic adapter through that slot on the bottom, and then you slide the GoPro mic adapter into that compartment down there, and then the USB-C cord, you have to twist it around and then plug it into the USB-C slot there at the bottom. So that's basically how that works. But there are a lot of advantages to this system over the Media Mod. The biggest one is that you don't have to remove the GoPro from the cage to change the battery or the memory card. It has a completely different design. So it's got a little door here on the back and a door on the side. It has 2 doors. Your GoPro slides inside. You close the door. Close that door, both much easier to open and close than the GoPro doors. And now the USB-C plug plugs in. So that's the unit there compared to the Media Mod. For my money, it's a bit It's probably in total the same, because you can't use just the case. You also have to use the mic adapter. So if you include the case and the mic adapter in terms of its size and weight, it's probably roughly equivalent to the Media Mod. There's no advantage in terms of weight or size going one way or the other. This might even be a little bit lighter, but I'm not sure. I think it's roughly the same. But the advantage is in the simplicity of it. So now if I want to change the battery, all I need to do is take out the USB-C port and open this door on the side. There it is. All done. There's the battery and there's the memory card. Because of the design is completely different, and the door opens to the bottom, you know, that's it. Oh, I need to change the battery in the GoPro. Pop open that door, pull out the battery, I'm done. I don't have to remove the GoPro from the case, and I don't have to remove the case from any of my mounting options, because the mounting options are fixed in place on the bottom of the case itself. And, very interesting point, Ulanzi makes two versions of this. They make one version with the GoPro finger mounts, and they sell another version which has a standard 1/4" 20 tripod threaded mount on the bottom. So you can use either one. GoPro, for whatever reason, has never incorporated the standard 1/4" 20 tripod mount on almost any of their products. You can only use the GoPro systems, but Ulanzi gives you both options. You can use the GoPro system, or you can use the standard 1/4" 20 tripod system. But yeah, look at that. It's a completely easier way to work with the GoPro. Pop open the door, memory card and battery. Close the door, plug your adapter back in, and you're done. Not only that, even removing the GoPro, if you needed to do that, I find I put the GoPro inside this case and I never take it out. I never have a reason to, because all I need to do is remove the battery or the memory card. I can do that through this door on the side. I never actually have to take the GoPro out of the case. But if you do, it's equally simple. You know, it just opens up and GoPro comes right out. You know, it is so simple by comparison compared to the Media Mod that GoPro released. And there are some other differences which are very interesting, which I also prefer. Let's take the GoPro out just to demonstrate that. I pointed out that with the Media Mod, GoPro has duplicated the buttons. So now there's a record button on the top of the Media Mod that physically presses down on the record button on the GoPro. And that actually makes me nervous, because when I look at it on the inside, it actually has a very sharp, pointy piece of plastic. I guess it's soft rubber, but it still looks kind of pointy, and I have a feeling that over time it would kind of dig into the rubber on the GoPro button itself. And it has that on both sides. So they've duplicated the buttons. So you have to press on the button on the Media Mod to then press on the button on the GoPro. Ulanzi took a different approach, and they just left cutouts. So there's a complete hole, an empty hole there at the top where the record button is, and there's a hole on this side where the power button is. So when you insert your GoPro Hero 9 into the Ulanzi case, close it up, they're exposed. That is not part of the case. That is the power button of the GoPro. It's completely exposed. And there's the record button on the GoPro, also completely exposed. Simpler and easier. Finally, or maybe not finally, we'll see whether I'm done. The cold shoe mount has two very interesting design features that GoPro lacks. For one, because of the way it's designed, they were able to take the cold shoe mount on the top and put it all the way to the left, completely separate from the GoPro record button. There's a lot of space in between them, as much space as you can physically get, so that whereas this cold shoe mount conflicts with the GoPro record button, this one doesn't at all. You slide your Rode Wireless Go receiver into here, and it's far removed from the record button. So you can put it on the top if you want. And just to continue with thoughts on design, Ulanzi also thought of something else, which is true of the Media Mod, for example. You take something like this and put it into the top cold shoe mount. This fuzzy windshield hangs down into the lens of the GoPro. You can actually see it in the frame because it's so fuzzy and so big. It actually interferes. You can actually see these fuzzy bits sticking into the picture that the GoPro is recording. And that's obviously a bad thing. Ulanzi figured that out, and along with the Ulanzi cage, they gave you a special adapter. This is the adapter that Ulanzi gives you. It's included with one of these cages, and it's a very simple little gizmo. All it is really is an elevated or raised cold shoe mount. So if your microphone happens to have a big fluffy windscreen, you take this, slide it into the cold shoe mount on it, and look at that. It raises it up by, I don't know, half an inch, 3/4 of an inch. And now when you put your microphone in that cold shoe mount and you tighten it down, I didn't tighten it down there, and you tighten it down, now the microphone is raised up out of the frame of the camera. It's no longer caught by the lens. And interestingly enough, this gives you a second cold shoe mount on the side. So I find Ulanzi is always thinking about what added value can we put into our products. So they decided to include this extra adapter so that you can raise your microphone. But then they thought, well, why not add a second cold shoe mount on the side in case someone wants to mount something else in there, a little light or any other accessory that you might want to use. Plus, along with this Ulanzi cage, they also give you a removable filter thread. So this device clicks over the lens like that, and it gives you a standard 52 millimeter filter thread. So if you happen to have any kind of a filter that you like to use with cameras, you can just screw it right into there. And what photographer out there doesn't already have a drawer full of polarizing filters, neutral density filters, whatever you want to use with your GoPro? You can use it with one of these Ulanzi cages because they give you one of these optional filter thread adapters, which is very cool. A slight design problem with it in that because it's curved, it covers up a little bit of the front LCD screen of the GoPro. But there's nothing you can do about that. That's just the physical limitations of putting a 52 millimeter filter onto this camera. It's so small. But if you can live with it covering up the screen a little bit, then you can use all of your old filters. And interestingly enough, even if you don't want to use a filter, because this is a standard 52 millimeter, if you happen to have any extra camera lens covers, I have one here for my Olympus. It clicks right into place. So if you don't have a filter in place, or even if you do have a filter in place, now you can also click on a regular camera lens cover like that to protect the lens of your GoPro. And continuing on, if you don't want to use this, it pops right off. And Ulanzi includes another lens cover, a little square one. So to keep your lens in good condition, you can just pop it on there. So come on. It's amazing. I find all of these features, the lens cover, the filter, the raised cold shoe mount, you get none of that with the GoPro Media Mod. You do get with the Media Mod, as I said, a built-in directional microphone, HDMI out, but I don't need either of those things. I do need all of these things. So In the brief time that I've been using the Media Mod, trying to get used to it, trying to adapt to it, I find myself still going back to the combination of the GoPro Mic Adapter along with one of these Ulanzi cages. I just find it more useful in my life, causes a lot less frustration than the GoPro Media Mod. To sum up GoPro Media Mod, I think there are a lot of problems with it, but the two biggest problems are that it shouldn't exist at all, and it is very awkward. Both criticisms, I think, are valid when you talk about the GoPro Mic Adapter, this little thing I've got sticking out the side. That also shouldn't exist, and it is somewhat awkward. You have to have an entirely new cage just to be able to use it. So both of them really shouldn't exist, and they're both very awkward. What I really need from GoPro is this. That's all I want. Give me this and I will be a happy man. A simple 3.5mm to USB-C adapter wire, a little adapter. That's what I need from GoPro. And in order to plug in a microphone at the moment, you can either use the mic adapter or the Media Mod. Those are your only options right now. Maybe someday GoPro will listen to the voices of us poor vloggers out there. We are not out there surfing with our GoPro or doing 360 spins on our dirt bikes or mounting them on our skateboards. We're just walking along the street and sitting in coffee shops talking to our GoPros. And for us, for that group of people out there, this is what we need. And hopefully it will show up at some point.